Hello and welcome again to Comic Book Art ASMR. This specific one is going to be done about one picture. It is teen romance, 1950s, teenage romance that is. And what I've been doing lately on some of my work is taking old comic book covers and turning them into modern day adaptations, and I happen to be gay, so I think that doing a modern twist is funny, and at the end of the video I'll show you the original cover so you get an idea of what the original cover looked like. It's very cheesy and funny and very wholesome-esque looking, even though it's a little salacious, but it has that definite 1950s style to it, so I tried to imitate that as much as possible, except add my own take on it. So to explain what's going on here, I actually do each character in their own layer, and I'll do them in different colors, so if I need to move them around, I can adjust them as I need to, once I'm happy with their size in relation to each other, and so on. I will merge the layers, but it allows me freedom to adjust as you see I'm doing there. In the background are two characters that are complaining about the front two characters and the foreground, and in the original picture it was an angry young lady and her best friend, and I just decided to make one of them a drag queen, just for humor's sake. I've posted this on my Tumblr and also on my Instagram, which is Tumbled Heroes, if you want to look that up. And the response has been fairly positive. They seem to really like the kitschy stuff. I'm adding in facial features here and starting to figure out the background. As you can see, everything's in a different layer, and then I just merge the layers together as I go. It was fun to recreate this cover with a new style. I had a good time working that out. This week I've been in New York seeing a lot of shows because that's my actual job, and so I haven't had a lot of time to work on art, so this whole thing was my project for the week. I usually can do maybe one or two full pieces in a week, but there wasn't any time, although I did see a lot of great shows, so that's why this posting is a little late as well, so hopefully you'll forgive me for that. It was funny because in these magazines, the people in front were always either a light brunette or a blonde, and the other characters would have darker hair, especially if it was the shady individual or the jilted person. So I decided to throw in some brown hair in the front here just to make sure that we had a lot of different colors represented. As you can see, just to make it feel a little more animated, I tend to do a outer layer in darker black, as you can see there. And then we go to the background. What's really nice about this specific program is I can draw anything in the size I want it, and I control the size so I can shrink it down or make it larger. And also if I want to zoom, I can do that as well. It allows me to do great detail. As you're looking at it right there, it seems like I'm drawing very tiny, but on my tablet I can just zoom that up. So when I did the work that you're looking at right now, it was actually very close up, and I didn't have to go blind doing it. So I've been toying with different shades of skin color. I'll do, even if I'm doing characters that are Caucasian, I will vary up the shades. So as you can see, the drag queen is very pale, and the man with darker hair is more tan. The gentleman in back, I try to as if he was of Latin descent. The 1950s was a very homogenized era, and that is not an era I choose to put my art in. So even though I am lampooning the time period, I want to make sure that I have some ethnicity represented at least. It's very important to me in all of my jobs. So the shading had to be very specific and also needed to look in the style of the 1950s. As you can see, I gave them hairstyles and sort of the dimpled chin look that was considered masculine of the era. I also like the square cut bathing suits. Definitely also gives it a nice 1950s feel. When you look at the original picture, you'll see that as well, except the difference is the suits of that era were very high-waisted, and that is not the trend right now. And I'm drawing some nice stomachs, so, you'd like to see those. Just finishing up my shading there, and then I will go to highlights. I do a layer in just pure shadow, and then that goes over the top of everything, and then I'll pull it back usually and do a more subtle coloring, so it gives the skin a fuller and more three-dimensional look. I wish I was better in just inking shadow, but I like how my looks have been coming out lately, so I think I'll continue on this path. It was fun trying to recreate each element of the cover. You can see where I'm adding shadow and texture, which was actually something they weren't able to do in the comic. It was all done with the black ink and then colored later, because, back then they did not have the filters and digital work that we do now. So I've highlighted our leading man there, and I'm starting to fill in the backdrop. It was fun creating the tree because I was able to do that with some ink work, and then also go back and use some texturing to make it look like a rough tree. Here we go. So my blonde gentleman is all shaded there, and the tree's coming in. There we go. This was a very involved piece. Not all my pieces are this detailed, but it was important to me to try to get as much right as possible. And you'll see I'll fill in the highlights of the water and the trees and rocks as well. Coming towards the end here is the highlight of the jilted lover, and if you pause on the captions when you look at the covers, you'll see the title, which is very funny. I also strove to make sure that the fonts all look the same. So subscribe, and I'll see you next time. And if you like it, let me know and give me suggestions in the comments below.